You had this piece the other day that reads, imagine a beer company that just wanted to make good beer and sell it to you. Imagine if that company wanted to sell beer to everyone, but didn't feel that its job was to make you more accepting of transgender individuals, any more than it felt its job was to warn you about the national debt. Went on from there. Exactly. We used to have that kind of beer company.
For a while, you did see in the era of, when Ben & Jerry's was hot, this idea in which companies would kind of associate themselves with some sort of noble cause. Newman's Own was always helping homelessness and kids. And, eventually you realized you reached the point where you're like, I never drink any coffee that is less than fully committed to eliminating the federal debt. That kind of idea that for some reason, every consumer product had to adopt some sort of political cause and associate it with self. And by golly, that's, In the case of this one, it is fascinating because, first of all, I wonder if the Mulvaney can would have had the same effect if it had not had the Bud Light chief marketing executive making those comments in the interview, dismissing the brand's old image as kind of fratty and out of touch and outdated. That spread, because I wrote about it. I think almost every, conservative columnist who wrote about the Bud Light issue found those comments, spotlighted it. And it wasn't just it makes it harder to believe this was an innocent misjudgment of the tastes of the existing Bud Light consumer market. That comment suggested a certain amount of contempt for the existing Bud Light consumer market. And the first thing I wrote about this was this question of, you can be a marketing executive and have whatever political views you want, whatever cultural views you want. But if you're going to market to people who are very different than you, the first thing is you have to ideally you'd like them. Ideally, you would feel warm and fuzzy towards these people. And even if you don't like them, you have to want to understand them. And I kind of wonder if that was the case in the case of this particular executive. And you also kind of wonder when we see almost every company engaging in marketing that is woke or progressive left or, just something that is almost like combatively culturally controversial. For brands that used to be known to appealing to the broadest possible market and the lowest common denominator, all of a sudden, it's like they're coming from, Benetton used to be one of the ones that was associated with diversity and things like that. That all of a sudden, every brand sounds like Ben & Jerry's. Suddenly, every brand is eager to associate how much their corporate values perfectly align with the most recent platform of the Democratic Party, right? And you put that out there. And what is interesting is I don't know how many marketers really care about marketing to red states anymore, even if they are half the country and or in some cases probably more than half of their customer base. In other words, did the Bud Light marketers decide we're bored with being the beer of middle America? We travel, we associate, we have peers who are progressive leftists, and we want to be the beer of progressive leftists. Now, I got to tell you, Bud Light is basically what you drink at the barbecue when everything else is gone, right? This was never going to be the world's favorite beer and the biggest premium. So the idea that you were going to get sophisticated urbanites who are, check every box in the woke philosophy, the odds of getting them to purchase, make Bud Light their beer of choice were always going to be challenging because your product is pretty crappy and there are a million other light beers out there. And I think what makes this boycott probably a little bit different from a bunch of others, although we're seeing maybe some others gaining some speed against Target and some other companies like that. But the idea is that Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Light, most light beers are pretty interchangeable. Maybe there's some people out there, but I think Bud Light believed that it had a whole bunch of people who fell in love with the brand in the days of Spuds MacKenzie or the What's Up guys or something like that, and that they'd always stay with them. And what happened? The answer, the big chunk of the market said, no, we don't like what you're doing here, and we're going to go out and we're going to try Coors Light.
Well, and as you point out in your piece, it's worse than that because you point out in your piece that this is worse than a boycott because they actually changed their brand. Their brand means something entirely different to the consumer today than it did 5 weeks ago. It's embarrassing now for a lot of people to hold a Bud Light.
And in the first couple of weeks, you saw a lot of observers who said, this is a social media. This is, right-wingers on Twitter causing this. This isn't going to, well, now it's been 5 weeks and 6 weeks. And the numbers are, 25%. Some chain stores have said they've seen, 50%. They're returning unsold Bud Light because it's spoiled. They've run into really major problems like this. They're planning a whole new campaign. They've had to give it away in some cases, giving people rebates. This is a self-inflicted catastrophic damage to this brand. I don't know if it'll ever recover. I think at some point maybe Bud Light will change Bud Light and create, Diet Bud or something. They will completely rename it to get away from this, all because of one decision to send this can, and then to on top of it to kind of sneer that the old image of the brand was fratty and out of touch.
Yes, catastrophic, Rich. That's the word.
Yeah, it's more than a boycott though. It became a national joke, and I do some little silly Instagram videos, and I've needed Bud Light cans to do some commentary on Bud Light. So I went and bought a 6-pack of Bud Light, at the local liquor store, and I was embarrassed holding it, taking it out of the store. I felt a little bit like going to an establishment that at the height of the pandemic that would have a mask requirement. So you had to wear a mask, and then your hands would be full coming out, and you'd be wearing a mask on the sidewalk. You're like, really? Am I one of those people? Is someone going to see me randomly and think I'm one of those people? So I think that's the way people feel about Bud Light. And Jim is absolutely right. This is a brand that was uniquely vulnerable because the old brand was straight down the middle America. Now they changed their brand into kind of ineptitude. And there's something in the freezer right next to it that is just as good or probably better. So Target, I think the Target drop, we'll see what the sales look like, but the stock drop is just based on the fact that low margin business, any consumer turbulence is bad news. But I'd be kind of surprised if Target is experiencing this kind of consumer drop off. But you would think the lesson from Bud Light to every other company, big company in America, just play it down the middle. Don't do the culture war one way or the other. Now it's hard because you have the other side pushing you and rating you based on how much you're into the culture war. And no one really seems to have learned this lesson yet. I mean, have the LA Dodgers, like a Major League Baseball team, welcoming after having the good sense not to want them to come be part of that pride celebration, this anti-Catholic gay activist group, Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, a month after the Bud Light thing. So this is going to be a long struggle, but the future of Bud Light is more than Bud Light. It's about whether you can send a message to other companies not to do this in the future.
Breaking news, Genucel has upgraded its most popular package to now feature its top-selling deep firming vitamin C serum plus ultra retinol moisturizer with natural retinol alternative. Right now, take advantage of this limited time package upgrade for 70% off. Why waste time and money going to get work done to your face when you can just get Genucel skincare shipped right to your door? Here's a Genucel.com review from Robert in Texas. Quote, I purchased Genucel as a gift from my girlfriend. She said she saw results so fast, we joined their concierge program immediately. It is honestly the best skincare she's ever used, and she's extremely impressed with all the Genucel products. Now, Genucel is made by a compounding pharmacist in small batches, always safe, cruelty-free, and natural. Go to Genucel.com/MK60 and save over 70% off Genucel's most popular package, featuring both the Genucel Ultra Retinol and Genucel Firming Serum. Genucel.com/MK60, Genucel.com/MK60, and get a complimentary Spa Essentials box with every package order plus free upgrade to priority shipping, so you'll get it fast. GENUCEL.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.